there, my name is Hido and welcome to the Pantheon. And I have to be honest with you, I'm not feeling quite myself today. You know, I'm feeling a bit slow and sluggish, you might say. Toxrill, the Corrosive. 7 mana for a 7/7 slug horror. At the beginning of each end step, put a slime count on each creature you don't control. It's all the slime going around. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, create a 1/1 black slug creature token. Then play a blue and a black to sacrifice a slug and draw a card. So this is a Dimir deck. It's got tons of words, but it's all about killing your opponent's creatures, you know, making sure that everything they own dies, using delicious slime. And you get a bunch of tokens that you can sacrifice for cards. So much advantage, so much going on. It is 7 mana, so that's a big investment. So make sure to pack your deck full of ramp. And you know what else is ramp worthy? Ramping into my subscription feed. Oh God. What am I doing? Please subscribe. Go through making videos like this for every single legendary creature. And by God, there's a lot of them. This slug is only the tip of the iceberg. So without further ado, let's dive into the top 5 for Toxie. And at number 5, what do we have? Well, we've got sacrifice outlets. We're going to be making tons of tokens and having a sacrifice outlet. Yes, our commander is a sacrifice outlet, but we can use all those tokens for the good of slug kind. And Ashen Adulter is one of the best. 3 mana for an artifact, sacrifice creature. Add double colours to your mana pool. So every single time an opponent's creature dies with a slime counter on it, we're going to get a token that we can turn into 2 mana. So this is great. Early game, as I said, we want to be concentrating on ramp. This can be wonderful with just any incidental creatures as well. So we just play like a little mana dork. We can tap it for mana. Then we can sacrifice it for 2 mana, get up to the 7 mana we need for our commander, and start churning out slime. Delicious. Similarly, if we're going to be sacrificing things using our commander or something else, we've got Grave Pact. 4 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. So if the slime counters just aren't getting it done, we can add this onto it. You know, we're going to have tons of creatures knocking around. We can sacrifice a few and make our opponents do the same. Then there's Dictate of Erebos. 5 mana for a flash enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Exactly the same, except it's 1 mana more and it has flash. Is it better? Probably not. But it's cheaper, I think. So play it, and you know, the artwork's lovely. Look at those dead bodies within Erebos' eyes. Then, on a similar sort of axis as our commander, we're going to be putting -1/-1 counters on things. Midnight Banshee, 6 mana for a spirit with Wither. So it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each non-black creature. So while the slugs we're going to be making are black, this is a black creature. If you're playing this sort of card, I'd very heavily focus on black creatures to make true advantage of it. And you know, this whole section is about manipulating your opponent's battlefield. They will end up with nothing, and we're going to have a ton of slugs. Who doesn't love that? So let's have a look at number 4. And at number 4, we've got Inexorable Tide and ways of manipulating counters, because the slime counters, shockingly enough, are indeed counters. Inexorable Tide, 5 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell, any spell, proliferate. So proliferate, you choose any number of permanents and or players with counts on them and give each another counter of that kind already there. So our commander is going to be churning out those slime counters each and every end step. But if you really want to get there a bit faster, and you know, our commander is a bit of a lightning bolt for removal, although lightning bolt will not kill it. It's 7/7 after all. This is the sort of card that you want to play, because our commander can initially put all the slime codes on it, but then we want to proliferate it down so they have like 20. Cast our commander again, everything instantly dies. And this is a great card. We can also play this with things like Planeswalkers to take true advantage of it. Here are another couple of proliferate cards you could consider. Yawgmoth Thran Physician, 4 mana 2/4 human cleric. Has protection from humans. He doesn't like his own people. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. You put a -1/-1 counter on up to one target creature and draw a card. So sacrificing all those slugs for card advantage there. Exactly the same as our commander, but it also uses removal. You know, the -1/-1 counter can really pay off and hurt something. Then pay 2 black, discard a card to proliferate. So you can do that over and over again with all the cards we've drawn from our commander, all this, and just make sure that everyone's covered in slime. Then there's Tezzeret's Gambit. 4 mana, but one of it can be paid for Phyrexian mana, so you can either pay 2 life or a blue mana. Draw 2 cards and then proliferate. So this is the sort of card you want to put into your deck anyway. 3 mana and pay 2 life to draw 2 cards. It's okay, it's not the end of the world, but making sure you get that proliferate is vital. Really, really powerful card. Then there's Flux Channel if you're going more of a non-creature sort of route. 3 mana for a 2/2 human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. Really, really nice. So what do we want to proliferate? Well, there's Viral Drake. 4 mana for a 1/4 Drake with flying and infect. So infect, this creature deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters or poison counters to our opponent. And if our opponent has 10 poison counters, well, they explode. So if we get up to, 9 counters and then we proliferate, we can get one of our opponents dead using infect. So you could take the deck down a little bit of an infect route. This card also you can pay for to proliferate. So if you have tons of mana lying around, well, you can just proliferate everything into the ground. So this could potentially be a win condition in and of itself. Hit them once, proliferate 9 times. It's going to cost you 36 mana, but we'll get there in the end. Then Darksteel Reactor with all this proliferate talk we've got going on. 4 mana for an artifact. It is indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a charge counter on it. When it has 20 or more counters on it, you win the game. So that's a really big win condition. It might take quite a long time. But as I said with Viral Drake, we can proliferate multiple times with multiple things. So we could definitely get there. And this is a control deck after all. We want to control the battlefield, make sure our opponents don't have anything on it. And we just sit there waiting, ticking this up, going, oh, yep, 18 counters, almost there. And then eventually we win the game. Then there's the Sludge Monster. 5 mana for a 5/5 horror. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a slime counter on to one other target creature. So this is just cool because it uses the slime counter our Slug Lord uses. Non-horror creatures with slime counters on them lose all abilities and have base power and toughness mana 2/2. So with our commander, because they're then 2/2s, we only have to get 2 slime counters on them. And, that might come up later, manipulating the size of our opponent's creatures. And that brings me on to number 3. And at number 3, we've got ways of protecting our commander. Because the thing with our commander is it acts sort of as an enchantment. We want to be putting the slime counters on, yes, but the -1/-1 is tethered to our commander and also making of the slugs. Weird sentence, but we need to protect our commander at all costs because without our commander on the field, we're not going to get those advantages. Lazotep plating is a wonderful way of doing it. 2 mana for an instant with a -1, so put a 1/1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control, and create a 0/0 black army, so it makes a token. This deck's got a token theme, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. So someone's going to sit there with their beast within and be all like, I'm going to destroy your commander. You'll go, no. This zombie jumps in the way and goes, ooh, you can't see anything. I assume that's how hexproof works. People try and tie it, they go, whoa, you can't see me. Or something like that, like a mime in a window or something. So I don't know what I'm talking about. But another great way of protecting our commander is with Eldrazi Monument and making things indestructible. This is especially good with a token theme we've got going on. 5 mana, creature control, get +1/+1, and have flying and indestructible. So not only is it protecting our commander, but all of our slugs are now 2/2s, including our commander, who's now an 8/8 with flying. Flying slugs. Horrendous imagery, but by God, is it powerful. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. Not that big of an issue with all the tokens we're going to have knocking around from all of our opponent's creatures dying with the slime counters. So a wonderful, wonderful card for the deck. Then we've got Hammer of Nazan. 4 mana for a legendary equipment. Whenever it or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. Quick creature gets +2/+2 and has indestructible equip for 4. So you want to be sliding this onto your commander, and then any removal spell that you destroys or any board wipe that destroys, well, it's not going to hit our commander, which is incredibly powerful, keeping it on the field very important. Similarly, there's Dark Steel Plate. 3 mana for an equipment with indestructible. Equip creatures indestructible. Equip for 2. So this is just a really, really cool card. Keeps your commander alive, and that's what we want to do, because we want to treat this commander as an enchantment, essentially. It wants to sit there, not die to board wipes, and just act as its own board wipe and massive slug creation tool. Which brings me on to number 2. And at number 2, what have we got? We've got Vedalken Humiliator. 4 mana for a 3/4 Vedalken Wizard. Metalcraft. When it attacks, if you control 3 or more artifacts, creatures your opponents control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. Now, this is wonderful. 1, because it's a Vedalken Humiliator. You know, he's just laughing at people uncontrollably, and it cripples them emotionally and physically. So this is good because our slime counters give 1/1, -1/-1 for each slime counter on it. So if we make everything into a 1/1, well, we only need 1 slime counter from our commander, and they instantly die because it's at end of turn, so we can stack it. So this wears off after. I think that works anyway. It's in the cleanup step. This has worked. Anyway, we're going to get that slime counter on from our commander after, before this wears off. So all of the creatures will die, which is really quite good. And the thing about this is the Metalcraft won't be hard to hit because we're in black, we're in blue. What do they not have much of? Ramp that centers around lands. Yes, you can, double your mana in mono black and things like that, but you want to be playing a lot of little mana rocks or just mana rocks to really accelerate. And that is where this comes in. We're just going to have the incidental Metalcraft knocking about, and then bing bang bosh, we're going to cripple our opponent's defenses. Similarly, here are a couple of frog-based cards that we can play. Polymorphous Jess, 3 mana for an instant at the end of turn. Each creature target player controls loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness -1/-1. One-sided board wipe, 3 mana, its instant speed works amazingly with this commander. Just makes them small, they die instantly. We get a ton of slugs popping out of the desecrated frog bodies. Then a couple of sort of targeted removal spells here. Turn to frog, 2 mana for an instant until end of turn. Target creature loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness -1/-1. Ribbit. Wonderful bit of flavor text there. Fits exactly what I wanted to do. The cool thing about cards like this is because they lose all abilities, well, an Elish Norn knocking around, things like that. A Kozilek, Ulamog, they're indestructible, things like that. Well, it's down to 1/1. It just dies straight away to our commander. Wonderful. Or in the middle of combat. It's great. And playing things like this is just so much fun. Then there's Mercurial Transformation, 2 mana for a sorcery lesson. So you could play this in your sideboard if you're willing to play sideboards and use, the learn mechanic. I don't see why you wouldn't. Who actually really cares? It's really cool. And, commander should be allowed to use it. Until end of turn, target non-land permanent loses all abilities and becomes your choice of a blue frog creature with base power and toughness 1/1, or a blue octopus creature with base power and toughness 4/4. So the great thing about this is it removes anything, any non-land permanent. Really nice. That Planeswalker, well, now it's a 1/1 frog. Our commander's going to kill it. It's so, so good. And look at that frog. It's just sitting there, lovely on its perch. Wonderful. And that brings me on to number 1. And in at number 1, well, what have we got? We've got ways of giving our opponent's creatures. Because the thing with a commander like this is you can really run out of steam. You can wipe the board. Our opponents are just sat there. They've not got any creatures, no cards in hand. Well, we want to take advantage of that. We want to be able to get more slugs. So let's feed them some cards. And Clackbridge Troll is a really cool way of doing that. 5 mana for an 8/8 with trample and haste. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 3 0/1 white goat creature tokens. At the beginning of combat on your turn, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Clackbridge Troll. You gain 3 life, you draw 3 cards. So, we want to be making those tokens so that then we can kill them and we get tons of little sluggies. And the worst comes to the worst, if our opponent says, nah, I don't want you to attack me with an 8/8 trampler straight away. They sacrifice 1, we gain 3 life, draw a card anyway. So it's just a win-win situation with this. It's a personal howling mine or a massive threat, or it's loads of slugs. So it just works wonderfully. Then there's a Crow and Horse, 4 mana for a horse with Defender, and when it enters the battlefield, an opponent gains control of it. At the beginning of your upkeep, Each opponent creates a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So, because it's now our opponents, we will get one, and so will all of our opponents. It's really, really good. It just spreads the love out. Yes, eventually the horse will die because it's a creature and, it's under our opponent's control. It's going to keep getting the counters. But in the meantime, we'll get tons of little slug tokens. It's wonderful. I love this card. It's so bad, but it works well in this deck. Then a land with an effect. I love it. Forbidden Orchard, a land. Taps for any mana of colour. Any colour of mana. Whenever you tap it for mana, target opponent creates a 1/1 colour spirit creature token. So it just gives them a token that when we can convert into a slug. And then we can convert that into some card draw. So this card, wonderful. Then there's Hunted Phantasm. 3 mana for a 4/6 that is unblockable. That's fantastic. Absolutely wonderful against all sort of planeswalkers and things like that. When it comes into play, put 5 1/1 red goblin creature tokens into play under an opponent's control. Ooh. So we're getting a 4/6 unblockable. And then if our commander's on the field, our commander's going to put slime counters on all the goblins. We're going to get a ton of slugs. That's a 9/11. Really, really nice. Then we've got the Curse of Disturbance. 3 mana for an aura. Enchant player. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So we will get a bit of advantage from this, tag some down. And then we're going to want, not force or make, but our opponents are incentivized to attack that player because they get a little token. But then we can put slime all over the token. Then the Slaughter Specialist, 2 mana for a 3/3. When it's the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 white human creature token. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on Slaughter Specialist. So this is going to grow absolutely massive, and our commander's got 3 extra slugs out of the deal. So a great card to play in the deck. And then finally, one of my favourite cards ever, Tombstone Stairwell. 4 mana for an enchant world. Cumulative upkeep of 2. So you pay 2, then 4, then 6. During each upkeep, each player puts into play a Tombstone token for each summon card in his or her graveyard. Treat those tokens as 2/2 black creatures that are unaffected by summoning sickness. Haste for those laymen. Count as zombies, and at the end of turn, if Tombstone Stairwell leaves play, bury all those tokens. And, you destroy them at the beginning of each end step. So the great thing about this with our commander is we can stack the triggers to destroy the tokens and put the slime counters on it. So we can put the slime counters on all the tokens and then they kill themselves, meaning we get a ton of slugs. This is just going to pop slugs out of everywhere. And if we've got a lot of creatures in the graveyard, we're going to get a ton of little tomb spawns anyway. So amazing card and works fantastically with this deck. And those are my top 5 for the Toxic Slugman. Really, really cool commander. I love that big splashy effect. It's got card draw built in. It's got a token generator. It just wipes the board. It does everything you want out of a control commander. I really, really like it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do like, comment, subscribe. Send this to a friend. Send a picture of me to a friend. Do whatever you want to do. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Bye.